how do you see yourself like in the future in running?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge fan of both you and Jim. You guys are like my top two in the sport, so of course I'm trying to do a lot of things you guys did.
I think it's very cool like to to talk with you like you are a kid, like you are just starting on that, but like I remember like when I was how old are you now? Like
I'm 26.
36, yeah. So I remember like when your age is so fun, like just going to discover a lot like on like races and your capacities and like
Anytime.
what you're able to do and the excitement, and that's something that it's pretty unique, I would say.
Yeah, it's a cool spot to be. I was talking with Hayden Fox, 2 weeks ago, and we were talking about the Killing effect, where we said for like the 5 years younger than you, it's like there's this massive generation of trail runners where I think everybody was inspired by you to like start trail running, and obviously it brought in some really talented people. And I feel like there's almost been like a skip in the generations where like you don't see a lot of 26 to 30 year olds, 25 to 30 year olds. And so like I kind of feel I'm in this unique spot where I'm kind of alone in my age group, which is interesting.
Yeah, no, and that's for that you are you, you still like have these youth uh, excitement, but at the same time that you have experience, like you have been running for already like a few years. That is not that you know how to run, you know how to execute things and to that. So that's the thing. Is the perfect moment, which is the moment that you are able to. Wow, you have been doing it the last 2 years, like really breaking every like record and things like that, and it's excited to follow on. Um, like I think it's cool to see like how your generation you are pushing the limits so much farther. Icon things are like that you are like not afraid of like looking at here like okay before like Jim has been running like crazy fast and it's like you can run faster like probably like a Jim like so like a Scott Jury could say now like I can move faster, and that's something that it's how you see like the sport evolve. I think it's about that, you know, like to
Definitely.
older generation, but think yeah I can do better than that.
For sure. Yeah. It's taking notes, learning, and then trying to improve is the way I see it. But I think it's just professionalizing a little bit where, it's like I look at a lot of maybe past trail runners where it's like, there's the trail running season, then there's like the ski season, all that stuff. And I grew up in Georgia, so, there's no ski season in Georgia. So it's like I just kind of train like year round. But like with like the high carb and all this stuff, it's like I'm just trying to, I still listen to all the podcasts and I try to read all the books and just like take notes and be a student of the sport. But I guess it's just professionalized, and it's like I'm willing to sacrifice a lot to try to do everything I can to get faster. Um, but yeah, and I think it's a really cool time of sport. I think over the next 10 years we're gonna see
Yeah, a lot of change probably. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, no, as you mentioned, like people is like yeah is more professionals, is more, and not only that is like the structure around. I think that's also very important that before maybe it was at least were professional, but they were kind of alone, and now it's like the coach and like it can be nutritionist and more people around that are so professional. So that's leaning also like a new, much more knowledge
Definitely.
to the sport. And yeah, how did you end up like doing Western States, like from like Georgia, where you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I had read in college when I was running, I started reading some like trail running books. So like I read one of your books. I read Scott Jurek's books. I read Dean Carnazzi and David Goggins and like all of those books. And I just remember in Scott Jurek's like Eat and Run,
Yeah.
for example, he talked about Western States over and over and over again. And it's like I was intrigued by it. And then, we started putting on the live stream for some of those years. So I started watching it, and I was kind of oblivious to how hard trail running is, and I just remember seeing the paces of these races, and I was like, I could run that pace, like that should be easy. And so I kind of got surprised when I actually started running these trail races. Like, no, this makes sense. Like, this is these are very fast times. But yeah, I think I just became fascinated in it really quickly, and I think just like the prestige of Western States itself, and it's like the people that have won it are all legendary, you know, and it's like that just it excites me to be able to compete with all those guys.
Yeah. No, it's fun to see like how people just do the running, no? Like it's you come from a background like of a track, no? Like you were running on the school and that, and then they up here and like for some other people is coming from mountain sports thing or that. And then like we are like some doing exactly the same thing, like running on the bus.
For sure. Yeah, I was actually, I want to read more of your books, but I read Run or Die. That was the first one I read. And I just remember like early with, like in the early chapters, you talked about, I guess, the value you found in like endurance and athletic performance. And I just remember like relating to that so much where I was just like, man, like when I first got into trail running, I had no intentions of going pro or anything. Like I didn't think I was capable. But all I did know was that I thought it was so cool that I could push myself to the limits and explore, explore on mountains and stuff like that. Like that was just the coolest thing to me. And so it was entirely intrinsic motivation. And I just found so much value in that. And so I want to thank you for that.
No,
Because
thanks,
you
man.
Sam taught me that way. Or at least you showed me that other people were like that, which I really appreciated.
No, that's thanks for that, man. It's nice to inspire guys like you to push the things, and like you're putting the like you moved to Colorado to be able to play more to that, and like I remember like some of like to follow me to train and to that. And what's your like ecosystem like come like on training like the coach, and do you have like
Yeah, yes, it's
me like strength or
So I have my coach is David Roach. So he coaches me, and then I don't have a nutritionist. My diet could definitely be better.
you have to improve. I think that you have some wrong you will, but it is like I mean it's good because keeping things that you know that you can improve, it's always a good thing. Like
Absolutely. Yeah, I target calories more than anything. So I eat a lot of like frozen pizza and and burgers and stuff like that. So I know that that can get better, but I'm slowly adapting as I go. But yeah, then obviously between David helps me a lot. And then I had a undergrad in kinesiology, then I went back and got my master's in kinesiology. So like I it's like exercise science, and so I kind of like to have a little bit of a say in some things like strength training, and David and I will talk about training in different ways, but like it's still fun to me for me to like use, I guess, experiment with different things. So yeah, I
yes, find your way like on what it works, and it's very different I think from Monday to early to like the principle of individuality that often we forget, and
your share.
we say, oh, this guy is doing that, they should do the same, and it's like we are all different.
Yeah,
We not adapt the same way to one kind of stimuli or no that.
definitely. Yeah. And I think too, I mean, with the age of media that we live in right now, it's like you could arguably say that the media could be a coach for you. Like I said, I mean, listening to those podcasts and reading those books, it's so much information. And it's like that's a huge resource
Yeah.
that I
Then I think also it's hard like sometimes to see what part of this information is relevant, what is like yeah, it's it has like a fundamental or not, and so it's strange. I think on that we have access to so much information, but at the same time it's hard to separate which information it's relevant and which one is not.
yeah.
And same with others, like, and I think like also like people with talent, they can do very stupid things just think with braces.
It's true.
And you can say, wow, this talent is doing this thing, but it's I will do the same, and then you get completely destroyed, but you find like what is the good yeah the good way for you. I feel that actually takes time and experience
Definitely.
to feel that, and well, it's worse than stays like 3 days. But
from the United States, so it's like that race really fits in. However, like I'm fascinated by UTMB, so I'm racing CCC this year.
yeah, that's the reason.
Why
I think it will fit you well.
I think so too. And it'll be a good introduction to European ranks. I've never been to Europe ever,
Really.
so I think that'll be a great introduction. But I think at least in my competitive career, I really think Western States and UTMB will be like my two target races. And then we'll see where that goes. Like right now, I'm obsessed with the competitive side of the sport, but like I love adventures, you know.
Yeah.
So some things like States at elevation, like that is so cool to me, and like
Yeah, it was fun that you came to. Yeah,
that was really
that was so cool.
really cool experience. It was
Was so windy,
and that's all.
so cold here up there.
I was trying to tell some people, you're like, what did you guys talk about? I was like, well, half the time I was like, we couldn't hear each other. I was like, it was so windy.
It was pretty much kind of weird,
But no, that was really cool. And so maybe long adventures like that, like down the road, could be really cool. But right now, yeah, pretty obsessed with Western States and UTMB.
Yeah, no, it's huge balls. You definitely,
Yeah,
huge.
I'm a very ambitious fella.
Yeah, no, and I think you have all the ingredients to succeed on that. Like, and as you mentioned, you are a student of the sport. I think that's also why to understand your body, to understand how you function, to be able to win this race, and it's something that.
Be fun. But yeah, do you have any advice for me as I'm early in my career trying to tackle these big goals?
No, I think you have this openness about like learning and about yeah, learning about your body. I think that's very important because I think in long distance it's a lot about resilience, like the last hours, like thing like as you mentioned, we never run fast. Like anybody at our level can run the first 6, 7, 8 hours at the speed that we are running. But then it's like what happens from there to the finish line. Those last maybe like 5 hours in Western States or like the last 10 hours at UTMD is like who has been like who is more resilient, no? Like
Yeah.
metabolically and on the muscles and everything, and that's something that it's difficult to figure out, and it requires this experience. I think like you've raised last year here was very good for that. That you probably understand how the race is
Yeah.
and just like how like small like things that you do might change the outcome because it's the it doesn't matter on a short race, no. But learning about listening, and thing is about a lot about listening your body and trying to understand like the fuels. I feel like this a bit on the muscle or like on the fueling that I'm eating, I can eat a bit more or I need to eat a bit less or something that it's hard to plan, like to have a good plan, but to be able to adapt while you are racing the same case. That was the plan, but I feel that I need to navigate it a bit. I think that's very important, uh, and on racing like this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you said something in one of your videos last year. You said that you were chasing, I believe the quote is physiological changes over decades.
Yeah.
And I love that. I thought that was so perfect because I feel like so many times people are like chasing fast fitness. It's like the real fitness comes from months and years of like changing the body. And like I don't know, I love that quote. I've used it for this entire year. I've been telling people that. So
No, like we all want like the easy solution. Like okay, like take this pill, then you will get stronger. Or do this session, like and do this interval session, you will get stronger. It's like no, like the reality is no. Like if you see all these successful athletes, they have been doing that for decades, and like even young athletes that they are successful, they have been practicing sport or physical activity for many years.
yeah.
So it's this change like of being able to stay healthy to do week after week, day after day, month after month, year after year, that it changes your biology, and that makes the athlete that you are today. And I feel here that it's like it's rare to have that in young athletes today. They normally talking with other young athletes, they want to perform today. They want to say, I want to train for 4 months and perform, and I want what should I do? Is like be patient, guy. I can be patient. Like things arrive like over time, and I think you have that on your mindset, and that will make you great. So
Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good to hear. Yeah, because that's something David and I talk about a lot. Where like, I hope that my competitive career is going to be another, 12 to 14 years long if everything goes according to plan. So it's how can I train hard and stay fit, but like not get injured, not overtrain, and then just be patient.
yeah, it's better to be able to train for like every day during the years than to do a crazy session and then like be off kilometers.
For sure.
So yeah. Thanks, man. Like, yeah, I wish you the best luck.
Thanks.
Have a nice race on Saturday.
Yeah,
Well, you will
looking forward to
have
the
that. We'll
Oh yeah,
yeah.
yeah. It'll be great. I hopefully we can admire the terrain together.
Oh yeah,
last year.
yeah.
Oh.
It was nice.
Yeah, that was one of my stories from last year. Is when we were in the high country.
Yeah.
I think you were right behind me, and I kept looking left, and you said it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like it is beautiful, Kilian.
We cannot take for granted that we are able to do that on yearly basis.
It's amazing.
Cool.
Like-
Thank you, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me over. It's really cool.
Well, as well.
And thanks for everything you've done for the sport.
No.
Like I said, I'm a huge fan, so I'm just honored to be racing you again on Saturday.
Yeah.
So
Same me.
yeah, wishing you the best of luck.
Yeah. Will be exciting.